What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Off-World Off-Topic.
Well, hello.
I'm Mark Fox-Powell, and that's Sam Baylor. And Off-World Off-Topic is Off-World Empire's weekly-ish show.
Yeah, mostly weekly. Oh, it's worth mentioning, this is our last show for a little while.
Yes.
Certainly the last show from this room.
Yes.
No more this room.
Yeah, we're upgrading to a massive studio.
That's not true.
No. We're just juggling some things around. There's going to be probably some slight format changes coming.
Yeah, so we're going to have to be doing some of the shows like remotely.
Yeah.
Depending on what situation it is. That I think those for a short while or some time will be the majority of the content. I mean, the channel still we won't be in the same room necessarily, but the channel will still remain active. So
channel will be active.
Stay subscribed.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll
we'll be re-releasing all of our shows as podcasts over the next few months as well.
Oh yes, yeah, and we'll still be. Sometimes we'll be able to get together and do shows in the same room and whatnot. And we are filming something that you guys will see. Actually, this isn't exactly the last show in this room.
That's right, actually,
because there is going to be something else, which is not a normal Off-World Off-Topic show.
No, it's like an extra little bonus
thing.
Surprise.
There's something cool in it. You guys will see don't know when we're going to release it. We'll decide that later. It doesn't matter for now. But it will pop up on the channel at some point.
Yeah.
And it's quite cool.
Yeah, it's good.
But yes, stay subscribed. The channel will still remain active, but we're going to have to take some time off, because we're going to work out how we're going to redo stuff remotely for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be away in November. You're going to be away in some of October. I'm not quite sure when the next video will pop up on the channel. But there will be stuff coming.
It will come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just may not. It may be for a few months. It goes quiet.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure.
No, we'll just see how it pans out. But as we said, like the channel's still active.
Yeah.
And keep the comments coming.
Yes.
And we're both reading them and responding, and
we will continue to, chalk them up and reply to them in later shows once we've kind of started worked out exactly how we're gonna technically do it and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we've just got to learn all that stuff basically.
Yeah, we've got to do some work behind the scenes.
It's all good fun.
Yeah. So stay.
But say goodbye to this room. What an amazing room it is.
That might still appear.
Yeah, we'll keep those.
We'll still make it look. Well, when we're remote, we're probably going to have a different. We're probably not going to have one camera. It's going to be a separate camera and stuff like that. But when we
rip this in half, I'll take that and half of this, and you can take half of that and that.
But when we are in the same room, we can try and make it look roughly the same,
just to make you all feel at home.
For old time's sake.
Make us feel at home as well.
Yeah.
So this week, we're completely changing tack from last week. The last 2 weeks.
Back to space.
Yeah, we're talking about planets.
Yeah. Colonizing planets.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna try and answer this question. Should we colonize planets? Should our civilization be dedicating its resources to colonizing other planets?
Yes. I imagine most of the people who are watching these shows are probably going to be in the yes we should camp.
Yeah.
And that would seem like the obvious answer. But there are lots of good reasons why you might not want to.
Yeah, sure.
And I also, if you haven't really thought about it before or read into it, there's some good reasons why we should as well that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's lots of interesting arguments back and forward about whether we should be doing it.
Yeah.
But we'll go through them in detail and give our thoughts and all the usual stuff. As you would come to expect,
and try and work out. Try and work out if it's actually going to happen.
Yes.
As well, will it? So should we? Shouldn't we? And will we or won't we?
Yes.
Two sort of slightly different but related questions.
Yeah. But first, there has been some fancy news stories that I've been loving.
Yeah.
They have discovered a planet in the habitable zone.
Yeah. The liquid water, basically the zone of temperature where liquid water could exist on the surface of the planet.
Yes, around Proxima Centauri, which is the nearest star.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about that star before in relation to, I think we talked about it when there was, when we were talking about how we might travel between stars and things. There was that episode a long time ago. And then there was also the Breakthrough Starshot episode where is kind of a mission concept in which they might do that.
Yeah.
And we said at the time that there wasn't that much interesting necessarily about Proxima Centauri, or at least we just said there wasn't known to be anything particularly interesting about it. That's maybe not true now, which is good.
Yeah,
because
so I think we were saying at the time, and obviously people who have been following the Breakthrough Starshot as well, like, if we can get to a planet within sort of a few decades, which is what this Breakthrough Starshot thing is trying to do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I say a planet, I meant a star, a nearby star. Then we should pick one that's the most interesting. And suddenly, Proxima Centauri now seems to be pretty damn interesting.
Pretty interesting. But I again, it's one of those things that you see a lot of stuff, lots of headlines, and I mean, some of them cover it fine, but the immediate reaction is that, oh my god, there's a planet that could support life.
We found another Earth.
We found another
like,
Earth
right next door,
and it's probably not true.
No, it's
in that way. It's not going to look like Earth. At least the chances are it's going to look quite different.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say.
For a start, it's really close. Well, it seems to be really, really close to the star.
Yeah, 11-day orbit.
11-day orbit.
So mad fast.
Which is, so it's basically just pissing around, like, really close to the star.
Yeah.
The star itself is just completely different to the sun.
Yeah,
it's a totally different type of star.
Yeah.
It's a red dwarf.
Yeah.
Which is it part of so Alpha Centauri is a binary system, right?
Yes.
With
and
two
then Proxima's
stars
nearby, but it may or may they think it might be gravitationally bound to those to the Alpha Centauri.
Yeah. So is it
system?
We don't know if Alpha Centauri is slightly closer than Proxima Centauri, or is
I think
Proxima Centauri
literally
the closest?
I think it's the closest.
It's crazy, isn't it? That we just look at the closest star, literally our closest star, and there's a planet there.
Yes.
And actually, you read the paper, they say that they can't rule out the existence of another much larger planet also in the system.
Yes, yeah.
So there might be several planets there.
I think they detected this with the radial velocity method, which is where you kind of look at the pull and... So imagine when a planet's orbiting a star.
Yeah.
It sort of tugs it away from the Earth when it's behind it, gravitationally, if you like. And when it's closer, it tugs it towards. And so you end up with a Doppler shift in the light. Shifts to the red if it's being pulled away, shifts to the blue if it's being pulled towards
just in the star itself.
Just in the star itself, and that's how they worked out it was there.
And it's the shifts are tiny.
Nothing.
Absolutely tiny.
It's a small star anyway, with a small. The planet's about the size of. They think it's at least 1.3 times bigger than the Earth, at least, but that's the minimum mass.
Yeah, that's one of the constraints I think of that radial velocity method is you can only get a minimum mass.
Yes.
So about 1.3 times the size, or bigger, I guess.
Sure.
They must have some kind of upper bounds on it, but I mean, I don't know. I actually don't know, so I don't want to even speculate about that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really cool, and
it's locked. So it's because it's close in, though. It's locked to the star, isn't it?
It's thought to be, I think.
Again,
we don't know, but probably it's either going to be tidally locked, so one side of it faces the star at all times, or it's going to be in like a spin resonance where for every orbit it has like 2 or 3 rotations or something like that.
Okay.
Probably just because it's so close.
Sure. I mean, if it's tidally locked, there is some debate in science circles about whether a tidally locked planet close to a star could be habitable. There's some people that think it couldn't, and you need that rotation. Some people think, if you've got a big enough magnetic field, strong enough magnetic field, you can retain the atmosphere and
distribute heat around.
Distribute heat back around.
Yeah.
And so there's others that say there maybe is a kind of on these types of worlds, if it is tidally locked in that way, there's a habitable ring around the planet between the side that is being scorched by the star and the other side, which is sort of cold and desolate, presumably.
Yeah. Which is nuts. I mean, I'm not sure how seriously I take that, but just think about it for a minute and what it would be like being on a planet like that. Say that that's just where, a civilization or something or life has started in this band, and you just exist during this entire time in this kind of like perpetual sunset, where on one horizon you've got the sun like illuminating the sky, and on the other horizon it's dark. Yeah. And if you venture too far either direction, then you're in like either like some kind of horrendous radiation-soaked desert, or like the horrible like winter sort of.
Yes, yeah. And you could have the atmosphere kind of condensing out, or freezing out on one side.
Yeah, like carbon dioxide, snow, and shit.
And it could be a crazy, crazy place. So the other thing is, not only is that tidal locking potentially a barrier to it being habitable, or having life on it or whatever.
Yeah. It's
also next to a star, which is a red dwarf star, which is called a flux star.
A flare star.
Flare star.
A flare star.
A flare star. Now, a flare star happens to enjoy throwing out huge amounts of X-rays and other stuff
in like unpredictable bursts.
In unpredictable bursts at luminosities that are way brighter than the star. They take this star from being something like, was it 0.14 or something like that, the brightness of the sun, up to the brightness of the sun during one of these flares. That's not good.
No, it's like a 10 times increase in brightness.
Yes.
And that's like a full spectrum, like X-rays and everything just being chucked out of the star.
It's like 400 times the dose of X-rays you get on Earth, I think, and that's with Earth's magnetic field and everything. Yeah.
So that planet is going to be taking those X-rays hard.
So that's not ideal for life.
Definitely
really.
isn't. No.
I mean, it's not.
It's not just X-ray. Presumably, with that comes UV and everything. It's just a horrendous amount of short wavelength damaging shit.
Yes.
So
I mean, maybe it will just be a kind of barren rock that happens to be in the zone where there is liquid water. It won't really have an atmosphere. We have no idea about any of this.
Yeah.
And something like James Webb might help us answer that question.
Yes.
Maybe.
So this is exactly the kind of thing that we need for upcoming missions. Like, so James Webb, which is going to be able to look. Right now we don't know if it transits. I don't think in front of the star. So transits obviously just like line of sight from the Earth.
Yes.
Moves in front of the star.
Oh, that's true.
And James Webb, I believe, needs transits to get the spectral data from the atmosphere.
To get it round the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it does transit, then we'll be able to look at it and be like, okay, shit, there's like an atmosphere, there's oxygen. Can you imagine that? Oxygen or something nuts.
Yes.
So some crazy disequilibrium.
Yeah.
Water vapor. Hell, that would be mad. Water vapor. Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, get over there as soon as possible. Yeah. So upcoming missions like that and breakthrough starshot, as we already mentioned. I mean, there isn't really. I can't imagine like a better target for breakthrough starshot. Really?
Well, yeah. I don't know how. I can't remember the exact stats of how long it takes breakthrough starshot is planned to get to this place, and how much different it would be if they went to, I don't know, Barnard Star or something. A star a little bit further away.
I think it's about 20 years to get to Proxima Centauri.
Yeah, within a kind of sort of time bracket, I suppose. You want to pick. So it's going to take. You don't want to take it. You don't want it to take more than 50 years, say. But within that gap between 0 and 50 years, you want to pick the best target you can go to. And Proxima Centauri might be the best. The best shot we have at finding a habitable planet and visiting it. But just because it's the closest, if we've only just discovered that around that very close star, who's to say there's not other better targets located around other close stars?
Yeah,
so
sure.
It could. I mean, certainly. That certainly could be. There's no reason why there shouldn't be. That at the moment is the priority target, but as the research comes through, that may change.
Yeah, sure. And this is the thing. The big efforts for exoplanet searches. Kepler, very high profile mission, has been the Kepler volume, so the region of space that it's looking at is fucking miles away.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
It's like hundreds of light years away.
Yes, yeah.
It's way out because it's trying to get this idea of statistics and it's trying to capture as many stars as possible.
Yeah.
So it's not. There's no point in looking at the close stars because you have to keep swiveling around.
Yeah,
So actually, our close neighbours haven't been examined that closely for planets, which is why they're only just being found now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, we might find a whole bunch more. In 10 years' time, we might know that all of our nearby stars have planets, and just a case of picking a trade-off between, the amount of time it takes to get there versus the sort of scientific return.
Yeah, I mean, my hunch would be that you would want to try and find some star that is more comparable to the sun, with a planet orbiting it around in that version of the habitable zone, in the Goldilocks zone, as opposed to going for these red dwarf stars, which are they're the most common stars I think in the galaxy. But I mean, who knows? But based on the data we have, the presumption is that you're more likely to find life somewhere like an Earth-like planet, an Earth-sized planet in that kind of zone, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? Yeah. Next to a flare star is not ideal.
It's not ideal, but there's more to learn from going there than just being habitable and potentially having life there. It's not the only reason you'd want to go there. We'd learn just generally about planetary formation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, sort of the diversity of planetary systems and
True.
shit.
But I mean, let's not make any bones about it. If we're going for the highest chance of finding a planet with life on it, that's obviously what we're going for. Yeah. But
because you answer all that other shit anyway if you find something like that.
Or you get more data on it anyway. That's the most interesting thing. It's got to be.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, why do we want to learn about planetary formation and planetary system formation? It's because we want to understand...
A lot of it is to understand our place in the universe.
Yeah,
so.
our origins and
Sure.
And you know, how common
I mean,
we
those
are
things are definitely interesting as in of themselves, but I mean, that's what we're doing. We're going to look for life. That's what we're really doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so we will see. We will see.
I mean, it's just these exoplanets just keep getting more and more interesting. There's just so much cool shit coming in from exoplanets.
I mean, the fact that we found something this close, that realistically... Yeah, I mean, I guess realistically could be visited in our lifetimes.
Yeah, we could. It is possible if they get their act together with Breakthrough Starshot.
Forgetting singularity stuff. That's what we always have to say.
yeah. Just always have to caveat it with that.
Yeah.
It is actually conceivable that we would see images of this planet from a probe in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts. Unbelievable.
A different star system, another sun.
Yeah. Different sun, a planet in a different star system.
I can't even imagine.
No.
I can't even imagine.
You know, when the pictures come back of like Pluto and stuff, and you're looking at it like, fucking hell, it's a whole world, and you know, mountain ranges and stuff, and just imagine looking at that, but thinking that it's just a completely different system.
Yeah, well, if
formed in a totally different.
Yeah. The sun, the kind of red, orangey coloured sun.
Yeah.
In the background.
Like rising above the planet. Oh man.
I tell you what, those red dwarf stars are weird. I didn't know much about them before I started.
They are weird. It's a good point.
I can't believe how long they burn for.
Yeah.
It's that star, Proxima Centauri, might last for about 4 trillion years. Right. That's 300 times the age of the current universe.
Fucking hell. Which is, I had no idea that you could get things that old in the universe that lasted that long.
Sure. I thought, I don't know how long it takes things like black holes to evaporate and that sort of stuff, but that's a long time. I didn't realise stars lasted that long.
It's like the projected heat death of the universe is on the order of like hundreds of trillions of years, I think.
Not sure.
I think it is.
Right.
I mean, obviously, if I'm wrong, just
I'm
an idiot, correct me. But I think it's on the order of hundreds and trillions of years. So if you've got stars that are lasting for, say, 4 or 5 trillion years, they're getting up into that kind of, you know, just a few generations of them, and then the universe fizzles out.
It's crazy when you think of you think of the age of those stars, the age they will get to, and how young the universe is. Like, we keep coming back to this.
Yeah.
We're
right
at
the very beginning.
We really are right at the very start of the universe still. The very first little slice.
Yeah. Which is weird.
It is weird.
Why are we here? Surely you'd expect us just like by like random chance to be somewhere in the middle. Right?
Oh, right, I see what you mean. As in you'd expect us to be appearing at the highest level of planet formation, which is not thought to be now.
If there's like a rate of civilization production in the universe.
Yeah.
You'd imagine that it has some kind of a bell curve, like
which fits on the planet forming curve.
Yeah,
then you'd imagine
it probably does.
Then
you'd if you're just gonna just open your eyes one day and you're a civilization in the universe, you would expect to be in the middle of that bell curve rather than where we are, which seems to be right near the beginning. What's going on there? I mean,
nothing. It just happens to be when someone's got to go in that lower.
It's just mad though. It's just a mad thought.
It is crazy how young it is. It is crazy.
Yeah,
very crazy. So we will see how these projects develop. What?
I'm just laughing at that. Don't worry.
Okay. How these projects develop over the years.
Yeah.
And we will see if they pick up any better stars.
Yes.
Maybe they will. Better candidates.
One thing actually. If you can get a habitable planet around a red dwarf, right? Maybe this one is, maybe this one isn't. But if you can, and the star lives for trillions of years.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's going to be stable for longer.
Yeah, you'd think it would be stable for fucking ages.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know where I'm going with that because you don't need trillions of years to get to what we have now. So.
But I guess the chances increase, right? If you've got a stable environment for a longer period of time, a stable, habitable environment for a longer period of time, presumably that increases your chances of developing a biosphere and developing intelligent life. I mean, we're nowhere near... That star's only something like about 5 billion years old, so it's only a tiny, tiny slice of its full lifetime. So it's not... It's had as long as the system, our solar system, to develop life and things. So.
Yeah, but it could be in like 100 billion, 500 billion years that actually then you start getting life. Who knows?
There's some change in the orbit or something.
Yeah,
and it just shifts enough, and there's some changes in the volcanism and stuff on there that means it produces a biosphere. Crazy. So, should we be colonizing other planets, Mark? You don't have to answer the question immediately.
Yes, so that's what we're going to be addressing.
Yes.
But we're probably going to be, we are going to be focusing on Mars.
Yeah, really, because that's the
near-term sort of realistic target for colonization, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's arguments that we would colonize the moon, I guess, but I think you're probably going to end up targeting Mars for kind of permanent long-term colonization. I think the moon may end up being more short-term base type colonization, almost like a staging post for various other activities. There are good reasons why you would eventually set up a colony there.
Yeah.
But Mars is kind of the obvious target in that it does have an atmosphere, and you can potentially add to that atmosphere and terraform it and stuff. The moon's going to take a lot more work. Yeah, it is. And the moon's sort of partway between, like a planetary base and like just an asteroid station or like even a space station kind of in that sense. Yeah. So we're going to focus on Mars for those reasons, and also just because that's just what we're going to do. So deal with it. Yeah. Okay. So I think what we'll try and do is go through the kinds of reasons why, and discuss those reasons, whether we think they're good or bad reasons, why we will colonize, or why we should colonize Mars to start with. So an argument I've heard made from a few different sectors. I suppose actually let's start with the most common argument for space exploration tends to be a technological development. So there's like a spin-off argument. Yeah, I find that's quite a common argument in space exploration. People tend to say we need a space program so we can develop fridges or whatever. And I mean that's a legitimate reason. I don't think it's the strongest reason for doing this type of stuff, but it is true. There is a lot of spin-off tech that goes into space exploration. I mean, it's used for other things.
Definitely, it's hard to actually. The last sort of half century has been technology has been in a large way impacted by the space program, especially in the 60s and stuff.
And I think sometimes some people, you may argue that spin-off technology, you would be better just going to develop those things specifically for what they are, as opposed to having a kind of space program on the side that you then kind of try and draw ideas from. It would be more productive to not have the space program,
just focus on
and spend the money. The point is that it comes up with stuff that you don't think of. It comes up with, you come across problems you don't come across normally, and therefore you solve those problems in innovative ways that are then transferred back over. And it's not such a direct, if you just spent that money down here you would have come up with better or more stuff. That's not really how it works.
Yeah, and that's a point generally about like blue skies research, like anything that's not specifically chasing after like a practical goal. It's a lot of it might not have like measurable impacts, positive impacts on humanity, but some do, and you can't really predict which ones will and which ones won't, and it sort of doesn't make any sense to just cut it all out, because you'll end up funneling yourself down like a really narrow thing, and just everything will stagnate. Your technological development will probably slow. You won't have like all these new ideas coming in. So I agree that that's a reason that gets brought up a lot and is a good reason to keep a space program going, but it's probably not going to be like the sole reason that we should go and colonize Mars.
No. Well, I mean, that you might get a lot of technological development that's related to. You would get a lot of development that's related to surviving and housing humans in extreme environments, of course. And that may end up being very important on Earth. That may, be something that is useful not just to people living on Mars, or would have been useful to people living on Mars, but would be accelerated essentially by going to Mars and having to live there, as opposed to dealing with it if, I don't know, an asteroid hits Earth and we've just got to all hide underground.
Or just like catastrophic climate change or something.
Lots of positive feedback on the climate change front, loads of methane gets, all that sort of stuff. And it goes a bit tits up. I mean, you're probably not. Well, we don't know what's going to happen with climate change, but you could envisage crazy scenarios way far into the future where it is actually require habitats. But I doubt. I don't think.
But maybe not habitats, but certain aspects of like environmental control. So this is again looking really far down the line, but say you start like doing some geoengineering on Mars, where you're kind of changing the composition of the atmosphere or something, that kind of technology would probably spin off on the Earth in quite a big way. Okay, we're learning how to actually positively influence the planet in a way that's beneficial to us, to the whole planet. So we can do that on Earth now.
Yes.
Reverse climate change or whatever.
Yeah. So those kinds of things, and I mean, it would spin off to, I guess, almost lots of different things, miniaturization of things, just the usual things you find for space programs, and how to manufacture things, on Mars would become, using maybe more limited resources, and you would get a lot of technological spin off.
And just the access to space. I mean, that's actually arguably already happening with SpaceX. Their goal is to colonize Mars. And along the way, they're already benefiting, the commercial space market, the launch business.
It's a great point.
With their spin-off technology of reusable rockets and all that shit.
That company was expressly formed to go to Mars and set up a colony.
Yeah.
And to survive in the marketplace and get ahead of everyone else and take everyone's business, which is what they hope to do, so they have enough money to do that, to achieve that goal. They've pushed forward space development, with the help of, I think they had a lot of help from NASA and stuff, developing those types of rockets and the Merlin engine and things. But still, I mean, no one else is doing what they've been able to do. So yeah, I guess that's already an example. I mean, you could say that is just the end goal is somewhat. You could say the end goal is somewhat irrelevant there.
Yeah.
In the sense that they could have just set up a rocket. It's the privatization of space is the thing that's driving that innovation, as opposed to colonizing space.
Yeah, sure.
But the driver for Elon Musk to set up their company was to go to Mars, and so I guess that's in some way already a spin-off. Already,
a spin-off of a colonization effort.
Yes, sort of. Yeah,
a very long-term.
It's not bad. It's a reasonable point. I think another common thing that gets banded around as an argument that people put forward is kind of inspiring people. So, human missions do far more than robotic missions, say, to get people involved in science, to get people involved in engineering. Again, probably it's a reasonable point in the sense that I think that clearly is true.
Yeah,
people
definitely.
are far more interested in. Well, they're not far more interested. They are far more interested in humans going to do things. And when humans go to Mars for the first time, it's going to be massive.
It's going to be the biggest thing that's ever happened. Almost.
Yeah, it would be crazy.
Yeah.
But people get sick of space shuttle missions going up and fixing the Hubble or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
or like Soyuz launch with a crew to the ISS.
Yeah.
Like for the 400th time or however many times.
Yes, sure.
People aren't glued to the TV watching that shit all the time.
No.
But yeah, something new, some like pioneering effort with humans does huge amount to get people.
Yes.
Kids want to like grow up and be scientists, and people want to actually just get involved in science and engineering, which is just ultimately benefits
science and engineering.
Yeah.
Which benefits everybody eventually, I suppose. I don't think that's a good enough reason to go on its own.
No.
On its own merit. I don't even think the spin-off reason is a good enough reason to go on its own merit, I have to say.
No.
I think that's a good reason to be doing, and these are things that
these are things that you can use as arguments to say, okay, if we do this, you'll also get all this technology that's going to come out of it, and you're going to inspire all these people. But you're not going to say like the reason we're going to go and set up a colony on Mars is purely to drive a load of technology spin-off and inspire a load of people. That's the only reason we're going to do it.
It's a bit superfluous.
Yeah, it's a bit superfluous.
It's a bit.
Surely there's easier projects you can do to tick both of those boxes than colonizing another planet.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, the innovation thing. I think that that's a good reason, like you said, but it just can't be. It's just not good enough to spend what is going to be a lot of money doing this.
Yeah,
and a lot of human effort and probably human lives.
Yep.
So I think one of the biggest reasons, and this tends to be brought up more recently, is existential risk, reducing existential risk.
This is Elon Musk's point that he always comes back to.
Yes,
and obviously a few other people.
I don't think it was his original idea. But
no, it wasn't. Of course, it's not.
No,
this is what he cites as his main reason. I think when people ask him.
So existential risk is basically a risk. Oh, we've talked about it loads of times on the show. But a risk that may totally wipe out humanity. That there's literally nothing left. And so the idea is that you should do everything in your power to mitigate existential risk. So even if you have only 1% of the population that survives and then grows into another human, that is that is a much like an infinitely better scenario than having the whole of humanity wiped out. Is the idea? Is the philosophy behind it?
So you should take steps to even if what you do minimizes existential risk by like only a fraction of a %. It's still like a fundamentally important thing to be doing.
Yes.
And so the idea is, obviously our survival long term on this planet is definitely not guaranteed. There's a whole bunch of shit that can happen, like supervolcanoes, climate change, asteroid impacts, nuclear war, artificial intelligence, although that's possibly might chase you to Mars.
And things like climate change. I mean, I don't really see them as
we've talked about this in previous episodes.
Yes. I suppose not everyone will have gone back and watched all of them.
No.
There are some of those things that you just listed off, which I know you and I don't think can be considered true existential risks, or are not clearly yet existential risks. But certainly, there's at the moment, Earth is, as people always say, a single point failure. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
All our eggs in one basket. If the planet crashes into the sun, it won't. But if something happens that's terrible, we're fucked. We don't have any other backup.
The entire future of our civilization is just completely linked to the fate of this one planet right now.
Yeah.
And so the argument is that we should stop that being the case. So we should spread like back up humanity. So spread our civilization to another planet. This is like a redundancy almost.
Yeah.
And the reason to do it now rather than in 600 years is that we have the technology to do it now, or just about. We're getting to the time where it's going to be possible soon.
Yeah.
So we should get on with it before something sets us back and we lose the ability.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what kind of dystopian futures are waiting. So the argument is that by delaying it at any time, we are doing something we shouldn't be, on the basis that we should be doing everything to mitigate existential risk.
Yeah.
I think I like the existential risk argument, and I do think it's one of the stronger arguments for setting up a colony somewhere else in the solar system. I can see why it might seem nebulous to some people.
Yes. I don't think it's going to be the ultimate reason that drives people to do it. At least not the masses. It might be individuals like Elon Musk and people like that.
I think it's the thing that's pushing people like Elon Musk to invest and risk their business, their money, etc., on setting up the first colonies on Mars, and that's the sort of thing that will drive people to Mars, and that mitigating existential risk is kind of like a sort of modern way of just kind of going that humans explore. This is what we do to help us survive. We've always been explorers. And almost all animals are explorers. Exploring your environment is crucial to adapting and surviving in whatever environment you're in. And so exploring by going and colonizing other planets is just an extension of mitigating existential risk. By doing that is just an extension of us needing to survive, needing to explore to survive.
It's just a behavior we've acquired from evolution, basically.
Exactly.
Necessary.
Another thing people sometimes talk about: overpopulating the Earth.
Yes, so we just need more space.
We need more space.
Yeah.
Which is obviously an ever-receding problem, if you consider it a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to ever, if you get to Mars, oh shit, we've run out of space on Mars. Oh shit, we've run out of space in some Galgamex system in the world. I don't. This is one of the weaker ones, I think.
Yeah. I think. Well, I'm not sure exactly the current thinking of this, but the thought is that human population will plateau before it reaches anything like the Earth's carrying capacity, which is like something massive, like 30 odd billion or something like that, maybe higher.
I don't know. I don't even know what people.
Yeah, there is. Right. People have worked out carrying capacity based on if you used every fucking square inch of land for crop harvest and all that stuff. Just work out, purely turn the planet over into a factory to sustain humans.
Right.
Then there's some number of humans that you a maximum number.
Okay. And you reckon it's about 30 billion?
It might be more. I can't remember. It's some number, but I think the thinking is that it will plateau before we get anywhere near that. 5 times more. Yeah.
Than we currently have.
Yeah.
Might
be worth looking that up. So but
it doesn't matter. My suspicion is that, and there's clear examples of this all over more developed nations around the world. You get to a point with population where if you look at the development of countries, in less developed countries, people have a lot more children because it's economically beneficial to have lots of children, and also there's a survival risk that you're spreading out your survival by having more children, and also there's not the availability of contraception, and often women don't have the opportunity to go to work, so they tend to stay home and have huge families, etc., etc. When you go to more developed countries, all those problems change, and you find the population pyramids, the population structure is very different.
Yes.
Often you end up with an aging population. Often you end up sometimes with not enough kids being born in a lot of countries. A lot of developed countries.
Because the rate of childbirth has declined over the last couple of generations.
Sure.
So you end up with
a
big population of elderly people.
Yes.
Basically.
In places like Japan, I think the birth rate is far exceeded by the death rate or whatever, and they're ending up with a population reduction and a hugely aging population.
Yeah, we have that here, but although it's different, we have a lot of immigration as well, so that's kind of complicates the story.
Yeah, that's one way that countries help to kind of recharge that pyramid, because they get a lot of people who are of working age, as in you have a portion of the population which is in the kind of middle age bracket, from sort of 20 to 60 or whatever, that supports the other parts of the population, which are people at school, children, etc., and older people who require care. So they aren't contributing to keeping the country running. Only this middle bracket is.
Sure.
And that's why people sometimes will use immigration. Some countries will use immigration, as in they request immigration fluxes.
We need people to come in.
We need people to come in.
No one's having kids.
Exactly, to change that, to balance out that population.
But anyway, so the idea that we'll actually get to a point where we don't have physically enough space for people on the Earth doesn't seem to be in line with the way things are going. If countries continue to get more and more developed, as they seem to,
if all the less developed countries get to the level of development that Western civilization is at now, and we aren't at that 30 billion
the carrying
limit,
capacity,
whatever the carrying capacity is, then there's no real need to make an argument that we're going to overpopulate the Earth. I mean, if the carrying capacity, and we aren't damaging the planet, and we can live sustainably on the planet with that number of people, and it doesn't go over that number, in fact it shrinks once it gets to a maximum. You might find it gets to a maximum in sort of, I don't know, 2100 or something, and then from then on, for the rest of human history, it's far lower, and there's one big like a peak. If it's acceptable, we're not all kind of fighting each other for food and cannibalizing and all this kind of crazy stuff because we're like desperate for resources, then we would probably not need to worry about trying to go to Mars in order to basically just have that cycle repeat.
Just constantly keep spreading like a virus, like Agent Smith said in The Matrix.
So I think that's one of the weaker ones. Personally.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
So another fairly practical reason for going that people talk about is basically using Mars as a way of accessing the outer solar system. So it's like an outpost, or maybe that's the wrong word, but essentially like a stepping stone to getting further out into the solar system. So either scientific missions, exploration, and also resource exploitation in the asteroid belt and that kind of thing. It's kind of a gateway, an industrial sort of center to get out there.
Yeah, I guess once you're on Mars and you have the ability to produce mining machines we're talking far in the future now. Sure. To produce machines to help mine asteroids, it's much easier to get stuff off the surface of Mars to then travel to the asteroid belt than it is on Earth. It's far more cost effective. I mean, it doesn't take up mass is much easier to deal with on Mars due to the gravity and atmosphere differences. And I mean, I guess you could use things like the moon for places like that. The idea is that you could potentially have a bigger kind of colony, a larger, like a city on Mars, because Mars you could potentially either terraform or set up a habitat that would have loads of people on, that you could manufacture goods like you do on Earth. And therefore, whereas it's more difficult on the moon potentially. Yeah,
sure. And well, for a start, Mars is just closer to your your sort of mineral-rich asteroid belt.
Yes.
And actually going to Mars to mine Mars is probably less desirable, just because. I mean, you might find that there's some like super valuable stuff on Mars that we need to get at, some unobtainium somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
We don't really know what's going to be sort of deep down under the surface of Mars.
No.
But it certainly seems, Mars is in its own gravity well, so just to go there to mine it and bring stuff back to Earth doesn't seem to be such a good reason to go.
Again, I think I've heard Elon Musk say something like, even if there was crack cocaine ready, packed up on Mars, it would not be worth going there to pick it up and take it back to Earth.
That's amazing.
So anything that's mined on Mars is probably going to be used on Mars.
I'm just imagining just like mountains of crack on Mars.
Being loaded into SpaceX
Curiosity
rockets.
rover just like drills into a rock and is like, oh shit, guys. This is crack.
Just a rich vein.
Let's get there. I mean, that could be a reason to colonize Mars.
Well, everyone just gets
tons of drugs.
Destroyed, though.
Yeah.
That'd be a weird colony. So there's no real good reason to go and set up a colony on Mars specifically.
To mine Mars.
Yet. To mine Mars and bring it back. There's no economic reason aside from you could expand a business by going to Mars and building stuff on Mars and charging for it on Mars and having another economy on Mars.
Yeah. So you want to mine Mars to build shit on Mars. Yeah. That's fine. But what could be a driving force is going to Mars with the ability of using in-situ resources to build a fleet of mining vehicles that then goes out to the asteroid belt and starts to ferry stuff back to Earth. So instead of building all that stuff on Earth and sending it to the asteroid belt from Earth, you send your like 3D printer to Mars, and your 3D printer then builds all the mining machinery on Mars, which then goes to the asteroid belt. Again, maybe that's not a necessary middleman. Maybe you just go straight to the asteroid belt and build everything from the asteroid material themselves and send everything. I mean, who knows?
Possibly. I don't know exactly if anyone's tried to do any kind of studies on that or work out.
We're talking about technologies that don't really exist at this point.
Sure,
obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
But something like that, and the fact that outer solar system missions are shorter from Mars. Yeah.
Sure.
These things could be maybe not the sole reason, but they could be help. Help as a because in the end of the day, financial reasons are what's going to bring people. An opportunity to go and make some money.
Yes.
Is what's going to make people think, oh, this is an attractive idea.
That's normally what drives most things.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced it's totally driving the effort to. It won't. I don't. It's not a thing that's going to drive the effort to initially colonize it.
No, probably not.
But it may be the thing that ensures that it has long-term survival.
Yeah. So I'm
People
just
think
thinking.
But I mean, this is. I suppose this is an argument for why we might do it, as opposed to why we should. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So maybe we'll save it and we'll talk about it a bit later on as well. So.
Yeah, but yes, there are I suppose some reasons why it might be beneficial to have a staging post type thing on Mars for setting up trade routes and things. Again, not one of the strongest arguments, I don't think. I feel like you could probably. You might be able to do some of that in the asteroid belt, or you might be able to do that on the moon or something. Yeah. I mean, why not? It would be useful. Getting in and out of the Earth's a pain in the arse.
Yeah. I mean, Mars is better. It's quite a lot better. It's quite a lot easier to get out of. But still, if it's possible to assemble everything basically in space next to an asteroid. With very like a negligible gravity well, and that's obviously going to be preferable. But you need things like fuel and all that stuff.
I'm trying to remember when we did the space elevator episode yonks ago. Was that it's quite easy, relatively quite easy to set up a space elevator on Mars? We have the technology to do it now. I think
the materials. Yeah. We don't need some kind of crazy new material that no one's discovered yet.
So maybe you could set up a space elevator there more easily. Anyway,
Now that would be awesome.
Yes, it would.
A Martian space elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay. So those are some of the arguments that we thought up. I'm sure there are other reasons why we might want to go colonize Mars or colonize somewhere else.
Did we say science?
We said spin-off, didn't we?
Spin-off technology, but actually it's just pure science as well.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
Like that. I mean, surely that's.
Sure.
That is ultimately going to be one of the reasons why we first go.
Yeah.
So to set up some kind of like Antarctic research-based type installation, where you have scientists come in and spend maybe a few years there, maybe a bit longer, to really start exploring. I mean, that's going to be one of the first like driving reasons we go.
Yes, and
even it depends. This is a colonization episode. We haven't. What counts as a colony and what counts as not a colony? I mean, is a base of like 10 people count as a colony? Probably not.
The early colonies in the US weren't very many people, were they?
No. I think for a colony, maybe it has to be has to grow
and be sustained.
Yeah.
Something you can look back and say was a colony, as
Yeah.
opposed to an Antarctic base that you presume is not going to.
That's just sustained by shipments from Earth and
Yeah.
never really gets any bigger. It's
Yeah.
just sort of there to do a bit of science.
Yes.
Whereas a colony is, that's maybe how it starts, but then more and more people start coming in because they'll need people to farm and make pizzas. Yeah.
Well, you gotta have pizzas.
Burritos.
Yeah.
Martian burritos.
Exactly. Yeah, true. That's true. And I think in the early days, like you were saying, that may not be the driving. If there are driving forces to go to Mars, they tend to be kind of human exploration reasons to send people there. We can do a lot of science with robots, but you can do a lot more science with humans if you want to spend that money. And that would the colonies, the main function of the colonies to start with will probably be scientific exploration, because we've got to work out, is there life on Mars? How do we deal with that life if we come across it? All these types of things. We've got to make a good effort to work out these problems, because they are both interesting and we want to know, and also because if we start colonizing it, we don't want to fuck it up. Yeah. Which is an argument, I suppose, maybe against going there, which I suppose we could go on to.
Yeah, let's move on to that.
So one, a classic, another argument then is to not go to Mars or not set up a colony, is that we may end up contaminating the planet. So kind of like a planetary protection argument.
We should leave it in its sort of primal, pristine state.
Yeah.
To protect its scientific value, basically.
Yes. And I think
it's not a bad reason. There's a lot of really important stuff we can learn from Mars, because it's so similar to Earth in so many ways, or at least was. Learning about the early sort of history of the solar system, learning about why planets change in the way they do, why we've ended up like this.
But a lot of those, some of those, not all of those are related to biology and having to keep the planet pristine. You can learn a lot from that. If you covered the planet in a city and you drilled down and all the only science you were doing was deep subsurface stuff, you might contaminate the deep subsurface life, but you're going to learn loads from the geology and all that sort of stuff about the planetary evolution. And But the key thing is you don't want to seed it with some or contaminate some deep subsurface aquifer. That we then we can't give a definite there was not life here on Mars answer, because although it may be very hard to ever get a proper answer. That say there's no life on Mars at all. Okay, none. Now we go there and we keep doing this drilling. We keep finding, and we've spent 100 years and we've not found anything on Mars. There's still a possibility that we just haven't come across the right thing. But I think at that point
we would narrow it down, and we wouldn't just be doing it randomly either. You'd be strategically drilling. And as you learn more about the planet, you'd learn where to drill and the most likely locations to search and all that kind of stuff.
So I think
we would get to a point where we're reasonably confident that there's nothing there.
And I think to do those types of large scale surveys to really get an answer, to really get the negative, basically. The positive might be really easy to get. You do one drill, like, oh, fucking hell, there's loads of weird stuff in it. But the negative might be harder. You would need a colony. You would need something large scale. You'd need people there for long periods of time to do that. I also think it's possible to do those sorts of things and still to have a colony and not and engineer out the risk of contamination.
I mean, we do that.
We do that anyway.
We do that now.
We do it in Antarctica
all the time. I mean, both you and I work in sort of microbiology labs and have gone doing microbiology sampling. And you don't worry. I mean, you take steps to make sure you don't contaminate your samples when you take them. But we don't worry about the fact that there's a bunch of people over there, or there's like a city down the road, or whatever. It's just it's just fine.
But it's a different level of risk, though.
It is a different level of risk,
because in those environments, if we're sampling, just to say we're sampling a hot spring, and we've got a bunch of people walking over, you may end up getting some human DNA or some human bacteria off your skin that floats into the hot spring, but it's going to be overlain and probably destroyed in a hot spring by all the organisms that are in there that are specially adapted to those environments. Maybe that's the case on Mars. They're very extreme. It would be very obvious. But the key thing is, if you've got an environment on Mars that has nothing in it and it's an open habitable zone, and life just like goes crazy, it would not take long for stuff to grow in a body of water, say, that's got some nutrients in it, just never had life in it. We would never get that answer, which is a really important answer, of finding that Mars, even though it was habitable, never was inhabited.
Yeah. So the question is it possible to engineer out that risk?
Level of risk? Yeah. Probably.
Maybe.
I think it probably is.
But as you get more and more people there, it's going to be harder and harder.
Yes, that's true.
And it probably will get to a point where it's not possible anymore. I'd imagine.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I would get to a point where it
especially
wasn't
if sort of normal people, quote unquote, are just moving there.
Yeah.
by their thousands.
Sure.
Just to pursue their
people
lives.
to make the pizzas.
Yeah.
Like they aren't going to particularly care about how contaminated the planet gets.
No.
There's still, you just got, if you design all the habitats though, very specifically, because people aren't going to be building their own habitats to start with.
Not to start with.
Or for a long time, really.
No, I mean, but it probably will get to a point where they are. I mean, I don't mean like literally you go out with like a pickaxe and start hacking away at the rock and building your own habitat.
No, sure.
But these
other companies, it will spread and it will become, you'll be able to regulate it, but you can never be 100% sure that people are doing it perfectly.
People might go out in like a rover sort of convoy and just decide, I'm going to build a habitat in this crater.
Yeah.
And plant a flag and call it like, name it after me, like Markville or something.
That'd be a shell. So I think you're right. I think it would get to a point where you can't
Markopolis.
Sorry. You can't be sure in Markopolis that Markopolis would not fuck up the whole of the aquifer system in the deep subsurface of Mars.
That's why we're there in the first place.
You would be responsible for
we're going to dig a well.
Screwing up like a century, it's like 3 centuries worth of astrobiology, into the future, because we can't get to another place that's got such a pristine environment.
We're just going to dig a well down to the aquifer and just flush all the toilets from the colony down the well.
Get rid of that.
See you later, Mars.
Just do a big pit and you're just chucking like bananas and everything down with the crap.
Contaminate it.
Yeah, just landfill. Just a big landfill site on Mars. So I think you're right. I think probably not. I think it's probably impossible to totally negate that. So then where do you go from there?
Is that a big enough reason to not go?
Yeah,
at
it
all?
probably necessitates a focused scientific program to make a good effort at answering that question and getting to a point where most people are the scientific community is reasonably comfortable that there hasn't been life on Mars.
Yeah,
and that's a fairly big effort. It's a big effort. It's a whole planet.
Yeah, the rules are already in place now. I mean, planetary protection exists, and every mission has to adhere to it.
Yeah.
So presumably the first few generations of manned missions will also have really stringent planetary protection guidelines. So it's not like new rules will have to be implemented. They'll have to be obviously adapted for human missions.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the only real way
planetary
that
protection
is
going to go out the window, please.
It's going to go out the window eventually, yeah. But I think you're right. We're gonna have to take it slowly and somehow work with the scientific community to make sure that by the time thousands of people are moving there just to live out their lives and do whatever, build Markopolis, that by that point that we are fairly confident that we've learned what we need to learn. The problem is you're never going to know for sure, are you? This is the tricky thing.
That's what I said.
It might be worth.
But it gets
maybe
to a
we'll
point
do something like national parks or something.
Yes, that's a good point.
But on a much bigger scale. So we'll keep huge regions of the planet just completely pristine and untouched.
It's difficult to know how interconnected all the aquifer systems might be.
And just the atmosphere, spores and stuff in the atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's a tricky one because we could be potentially losing our chance to answer like one of the most interesting and important questions.
Yeah, we might, but if you get to a point where you've done a lot of work there comes a point, right, where you've got to say, okay, enough's enough. We don't think there's anything here. You either get a positive detection early or at some point, and that's fine. But you've got to stop at some point and say, we don't think there's anything here, because you can't just do it for like 1 million years and you've covered everywhere on Mars and you're like, it's just not there, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we would.
Someone's got to make a cut. Someone's got to cut it off at some point.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're never going to properly colonize Mars.
So that's the question. Yeah, is it a reason that we shouldn't ever do it?
And I don't think.
I don't think it's enough to stop it happening as a reason. Not completely.
No, it's as opposed to it will stop it. do you think it should stop? Do you think do you personally think that should stop?
I personally think that I think it should.
I think it
as
should
you
slow
said,
it.
I think it should slow it,
Yes.
and we should take a measured and rational scientific approach to it. So we should try to understand the planet as much as possible,
Yeah.
and particularly this question,
Yeah.
before we just start sending millions of people there.
I mean,
we might not have a choice. It
No,
might just
we
start
might not
happening.
have a
It might
choice.
just start snowballing.
let's pretend that SpaceX, they do everything they're going to say, and in 20 years they've got this thing going back and forward to Mars that's bringing, what was it, 100? Is it 100?
Yeah, 100
whatever,
people
100 people at a
time.
And it costs about $250,000 to start with each. This is what they're saying.
500,000.
500,000.
500,000.
500,000.
Which is
A mad
fucking
amount of money,
insane,
a crazy amount of money, like a comparatively tiny amount of money is what I mean.
Yeah.
And this price goes down over the next 20 years, and a lot of people are going backwards and forwards. There's not much you can do.
There's
not much you can do.
No, I mean, the rules are easy to enforce when it's space agencies doing it and scientists going and that, but...
And everyone's on board with the ideas, but once you send a colony there and people potentially start having kids there...
Yeah.
If you get to the size of colonies where that's possible, and you're not just sterilising everyone who you send, which is
tricky.
Something you might have to think about doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the science will be ongoing along this process, and it's going to take a very long time to colonize the entire planet. For a long time, there'll be huge expanses of the planet that are just completely untouched.
But we don't. I mean, there is already some Earth life on Mars, probably on some of the not particularly well sterilized rovers that have visited the planet. And the suspicion is that that's not problematic because they're at the surface. There's not much exchange between the subsurface and there is some exchange, but it's probably quite slow. And the surface is a pretty horrible environment. The idea is that most things would be killed on the surface. And you probably wouldn't be infecting deep aquifers. So there is an argument that it's already fucked.
Yeah, or it may well be already.
But you shouldn't. That's not a good enough reason to stop risking the potential science and astronauts.
This is the thing, that even without the colonization reasons we discussed earlier, the scientific return of sending manned missions to Mars is just so high. Yeah. That I definitely support manned missions to Mars. Yeah. And I support a colony, to be honest. It'd be fucking cool. But I certainly think that it should be, that we should take some kind of measured approach to it. Whether that will actually happen is a different question.
Yes.
The thing is, there is more. So I know what you were saying earlier about building a city over the entire surface, and you'd still be able to access the geology and learn about the geology. So that's less of a concern than the contamination, the biological concern.
It is, unless biology is tied to the planetary evolution potentially, so you might not fully answer the question. But there's
also, just by being on the planet, interacting with things like aquifers to get water, other sort of reservoirs of stuff that you need for your resources.
Sure.
You're going to be changing, ancient isotope ratios and stuff like that. That's all going to have information in it from Mars's deep past.
That's true, but
so
I mean,
by doing anything to the planet, you are gradually going to be eroding away at your scientific return.
But I mean, even with stuff that I've done, science that I've done, looking at certain aquifers that have actually they're not really very they're not exploited for water because they're saline, the ones I'm talking about. But though they have been drained by various processes, but not drained like the aquifers, but some water has been taken
by
out
human activity.
By human activity. And the isotope ratios don't change hugely. They remain. You have to have a big... I mean, you can do that. You can overexploit groundwater and get sinkholes and really reduce the levels. But you could. That's the sort of thing you could take samples of and freeze potentially. Or I think you're right. You probably will spoil some of it, but we managed to learn a lot about Earth's history being covered in humans.
Yeah, and doing crazy all kinds of stuff.
And contaminating with all sorts of things.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
I think we'll probably be okay for geology. It's the life thing I'd really worry about. Yeah. The other thing with the life thing, which I mentioned, was that there's some body of evidence that points to life being really important in the development of things like tectonics and all these other processes. So if we don't answer the life question properly, we might not be able to fundamentally answer the planetary evolution questions as well.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Who knows?
So one final point, actually, related to the fact that geological questions might be slightly more difficult to contaminate than these questions of biology.
Sure.
Is that even if you did contaminate your aquifers on Mars with living sort of bacteria or whatever from Earth, you still would probably be able to answer the question of ancient sort of fossilized life. You'd be able to discover...
That's a great point.
Like life from the Noachian, so like billions of years ago.
Yes.
Which actually was probably when Mars was much more habitable and
yeah.
Might be the only life you would ever find on Mars would be ancient anyway. So
yes, or fossils. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And that's something you would not need to particularly worry about that.
Yeah.
And you could still answer the question had you covered the entire planet in a 10-inch thick layer of just shit. Just pure shit.
Yeah, let's not do that. That would be fucking grim.
You would still be fine to answer that question, probably.
Yeah.
So,
but so that's fine, but it's still not a good enough reason. I mean, we still need to worry about the potential for, damaging extant life.
Oh yeah.
Because that's potentially even more of a scientific return.
Sure.
Extant Martian life.
Yes. Yeah.
Fine, delicious extant life.
Yeah, I agree. So I think our overall opinion of that point, of that argument against going there, that we should preserve it, is that I think it's still too valuable. I think that the reasons to make a colony permanently are too valuable to ignore when put up against that. But we should take it slowly and be very careful and try and maximise scientific return without screwing up.
Yeah, we should be very aware that there is a risk there, a big risk.
Be very diligent about it. There are some people who argue that it should be forgetting the life thing, that we shouldn't go there and screw it up. It should be left. It's like a geopark. Say, forget the life. That it has merit, and it does. Sure, as a kind of as an untouched place, like we kind of do with national. We're not allowed to build stuff in national parks or whatever very often in the UK or however it works in the US.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
et cetera.
So
as in we shouldn't touch it because it should be a wilderness.
Yeah, and that kind of feeds into the same stuff, right? Like, as in, we'll be able to learn things about its past and its history by studying it without any buildings on top of it.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah,
they're not even science related.
It's just it has a merit,
an intrinsic value.
Yes, an intrinsic value.
As it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who say that, but that in itself isn't going to be a reason that stops people going, I don't think.
No, but do you think it should be? Obviously not, based on that opinion.
Not based on some kind of just abstract, concept of what, no. I don't think so.
No.
I think its value in a pristine state is from a scientific standpoint.
And nothing else.
I think so. Do you think
it doesn't have any merit as a place to
cool.
travel to as a wilderness?
Yeah, okay.
Or forgetting humans, it should just be left, and humans should. Some people have a strange kind of aversion to humans going and building, their civilization in other places that are.
That we're like a cancer in the world, and we should disappear.
Universe, I know you don't have that opinion.
No, I don't, and.
That means you don't leave Earth though. You're not doing fuck all if that's your opinion.
Yeah.
You can't go
and touch
anything.
anything.
No.
And there's something. I agree that there's something intrinsically awesome about Mars.
Yes.
It fascinates me.
Yeah.
Almost more than any other planet. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
But there's also something amazing and fascinating about just human civilization and keeping that going and sort of its future out amongst the planets, and that is equally as awesome and interesting as just the intrinsic value of Mars.
Yes,
if not more so.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fine to keep parts of it. Pristine.
I think that actually is not a bad idea, and might be something that we do for quite a long time. Is keep large regions of it pristine.
Yeah,
both for science and also just to go and imagine.
It's like saying you can't go mine asteroids because they're pristine wildernesses. Fuck that! Just bring them over and rip all the gold out.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think keeping. I don't think that's a good argument on its own.
No,
for me.
I think we will do as we get more and more advanced and more towards that kind of post-scarcity future, which might not exist or whatever.
It might be bollocks.
It might be total bollocks. But. We can sort ourselves out. We can sort of manufacture more and more of what we need.
Yeah.
Sort of.
The technology will get better, and we'll probably be able to live more sustainably.
We might come across. We might
on
be
Mars.
We'd
have to because we'd just be fucked if we didn't.
Yeah, but we might decide that planets maybe Titan or something, like the moon of Saturn, Titan. We just want to leave that and just go and explore it as on holiday and treat it like a national park.
Yeah.
and it's not worth building on because obviously it kind of sucks there anyway for humans. But and also it'd probably be a pretty cool place to go visit.
Sure.
So we might get to a point where that's a really attractive idea, just to have like national park type whole planets dedicated to purely just fun.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Yeah, but I don't think I think Mars is a first step as a colony. I don't think that's going to be a reason that stops us going, and I don't think it should be.
No. Okay, other reasons then for why we shouldn't go. It's going to cost a lot.
Well, I mean, it really is.
So that's an argument. It's too expensive. I suppose it's an argument against that can be leveled at most space exploration. But I mean, a colony is obviously going to cost a lot of money. That money might not come from governmental organisations, though. Yeah,
it might not be money that has to be funneled from some other government spending thing into this.
Yes,
it might be
just
commercial.
Be I mean, SpaceX planning to set up their colony, which is, I think they want to do. They've talked about for a while doing a kind of satellite internet. A global to fund the colonization effort on Mars. That money is obviously coming out of the public, but to pay for other services. It's not really like it's not the like public. A tax. It's not. Yeah, it's not a tax. It's not a tax. No.
Yeah.
So I think there should be some government money put into this, like all space exploration, and it will cost a lot. But I guess the kind of reason people say this is because they think that money should be spent. We should sort out Earth first.
And this is a really, really common criticism of science at all levels.
A lot of science,
Yeah, I don't mean all science. I mean
sort of blue skies
research. Primary research is just doing like curiosity-driven stuff.
Yes.
Like just studying something because
making this Curiosity rover, let's say, and sticking it on Mars.
Yeah.
Why should we care about that when there's people on the street?
Yeah, like poverty and cancer and stuff like that. That we
should
need
be funneling the money into those.
Yeah,
instead.
and I absolutely agree that we should be funneling money into that, obviously. But you have to have these sort of fringe endeavors going on because as we were saying, I think near the beginning of the episode, they generate ideas and technologies that you don't anticipate from your like central focus that ultimately feed into it and help us advance in our technology. So otherwise you end up just funneling down and down and down and everything. You just end up stagnating because you don't have these new ideas feeding in from the fringes. But the problem is that a colonization effort can't really be described as like a fringe, so in the respect that like the research we do is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of science funding in the UK. Most of it gets funneled into like medicine and engineering and all that kind of stuff that's really directly beneficial. And then we use some of our money to explore these like curiosity-driven areas, like what we do. And that's fine, that's good. That system as it is probably the way it should work.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it's a good thing to spend a lot of our money on stuff that's directly useful.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree that... I certainly agree that we should not be spending the majority of the money made in any given country on colonizing Mars or space exploration. Saying like 5,000 Curiosity rovers.
So let's hold back like 0.5% to fund like some hospitals or something.
Yeah.
And everything else just go on to it to Mars.
That's a bad idea.
That's a bad idea.
A portion of it I think is justifiable for all the reasons you explained, and for all the reasons that we talked about, why colonization, existential risk, all these things are things that should be having money funneled into them. Existential risk may be, the thing that most money should be funneled into. Some people could make that argument.
That is much more important than like
hospitals. Who cares about people? We just need to be getting minimizing existential risk. Doesn't matter if 25% of the population is dying from a disease. Who cares about that? We've got to worry about the 100%. Is the philosophy behind it.
The idea,
I think it's about right where you have a small amount that goes into space exploration. If it then becomes a larger amount, then it needs to be justified differently. I just don't think it will be a larger amount that comes exclusively from government funding. I think it will be enterprising businesses that are looking to work with governments through different funding streams.
Yeah. And once there is a need for services on Mars, more and more companies will want to go there to provide those services, and more people, they'll want to bring people to do it, and then people will see opportunity, and this is when you start to get opportunities, and then people invest their own money in it. So it's no longer just the companies themselves putting their capital into it. It's people who like paying $500,000 whatever to get a ticket there. That kind of money as well, just from individuals, is going to be feeding into it. I mean, I don't know how you can even begin to estimate the total cost of like a Mars colony. It's going to be
it comes in drips and drabs, though, isn't it?
But that's the thing, yeah. And it will hopefully get to the point, if it is a proper colony, it will get to the point where it's not just a money sink, you know.
Oh no, it wouldn't be sustainable if it was just a money sink. It needs to run itself. It needs to pay its own way.
Yeah.
The other thing is, well, you're not really ever going to solve all the problems on Earth.
Yes.
You.
That's a very good point.
As you're going to go down that line of having space exploration, of doing these things, and there is always going to be, for a long period of time, maybe a post-scarcity society in a kind of AI future type thing. You may end up with very little problems on Earth. But I mean, in that period of time before then, when you're not funding money into disease research and poverty and things, that means you're not funding money into getting to a point where in a post-scarcity society, which requires funding of huge advanced science projects that don't fund money into these more kind of immediate problems and are kind of more superfluous. So I think by the time we're going to be thinking about colonizing Mars before we get to this. Probably before, well, we already are thinking about it, so it's already before a post-scarcity society. And if at no point in the near future is it going to be, we sorted everything on Earth, now we can go and make Mars nice.
Yeah,
it's that's just not a realistic way to look at it, because you would never do anything. You would never do anything. You'd never put money into...
and we certainly wouldn't have advanced in the way that we have advanced if we had like this list of all the problems on Earth.
Yes.
It's like, right, okay, all the problems that are immediate problems for people's lives, like tick them all off, and okay, now I've done all of that. We're all fine.
Now let's go and explore the sea.
Now let's go and like work out what like the electromagnetic spectrum is or something. You know, like, we wouldn't have got to where we were. We wouldn't have been able to tick those boxes if we didn't know what that was. Yes. I think that's where the term blue skies research actually comes from.
Oh, really?
I could be mixing. I think it comes from the discovery of Rayleigh scattering, which is why the sky is blue. That wasn't James Clerk Maxwell though. I don't think. I'm mixing things up there.
Okay.
But that is what blue skies really come from. But essentially, it's just the point is that you don't know where these things are going to come from. You can't just work your way through this list. It's just going to be a never-ending list. You have to have these other things going on the sides at the same time. It's part of it. Yeah. So I don't buy it. I'm not having it. But yes, it will be expensive to set up, and my suspicion is that it will be funded in a great deal by private industry, and should be pushed in the direction of self-funding funding itself, paying its own way, etc. As opposed to doing a big top-down, which may require a big top-down government program, which may be what is required to start it. But once you've got a market going, everyone's going to be climbing over each other to get there, so it'll be fine. Yeah, exactly. A bit like the Americas, the New World. Yes, we'll talk about that, whether that's actually a good analogy. That is one that gets pulled up quite a lot as an analogy. Yes. But if you think in that, if you do take that example and you go to, Mars, and there is a growing population of people there that can't just be going backwards and forwards very often, they're going to need more and more services as more and more people go there, and then there will be a big blue sea to exploit, essentially, of new business. That would be where you generate a market, and you get companies competing to send people there, and you start to run into a nice tasty market, which is going to accelerate everything. Yeah. So a sort of slightly related point that could be made, actually specifically about the existential risk reason of going to Mars. So the reason of we go there to cut down existential risk. People could say that given how difficult and costly it is to go to Mars, we should be not worrying about all the problems on Earth first in that sense, but we should be spending our resources working out how to mitigate existential risks on Earth, because Earth is just way easier to live on than Mars. All the other planets in the solar system, Mars included, are horrible to live on. They suck. So what we should be doing is things, go through your list of existential risks. And all those resources that might be used to go and set up a colony on Mars, use them instead to mitigate those directly on Earth. So, asteroid defenses and let's work out how to not let supervolcanoes erupt. Sure. Whatever. Like just keep these drill down into the Yellowstone hotspot and sort of let off a bit of the steam. Depressurize it a bit. I mean, some of that stuff isn't really going to be possible. No, sure. But sure. I understand the argument that basically
if we take the existential risk argument, say we took that as the ultimate argument, then is going to Mars and setting up a colony the best way to mitigate existential risk?
Or are there certain existential risks that can only be mitigated by doing that?
And I think that's probably true.
Yeah, they're probably.
I think ultimately you can't mitigate all existential risk if you aren't a multi-planetary species.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, even things like some kind of horrendous pathogen outbreak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably quite an unlikely total existential risk.
It is.
But let's say it happens, some airborne virus that just goes crazy and kills everybody on Earth.
Sure.
That's something that, 2 planets is possibly one of the only ways to be certain of being safe from it.
I think a virus is, unless it's like a genetically engineered, like a weapon type virus that goes a bit mad, zombie virus. So,
I mean, you could have bunkers and things on Earth that are sealed, but
you could probably,
you're always going to have that risk.
The way viruses work is that they can't do that. Essentially, they die off, don't they? But before they wipe out their host totally.
Well,
if the host becomes too scattered,
you could engineer it.
That's the thing. Is if you did engineer it, then there's an argument for that. Anything could happen to the Earth. We don't know. The Earth could do what Venus did, fucking turn itself inside out. Probably not.
Yeah.
And
that's the time when you want to not be on the Earth. You want to be on Mars instead.
But that we might miss an asteroid.
Tectonically inactive.
It might be too late to deflect an asteroid. Yeah. There are various reasons. And we talked about this before. Actually, we did an episode on why we would have to abandon the Earth.
Yes, we did.
And I'm pretty sure there was only a couple of them. A few kind of ideas that we had, like a rogue planet coming in and all these types of things.
Planet X,
and disrupting the gravitationally perturbing the Earth and chucking it at somewhere in the solar system.
Yeah. Well, that would probably fuck up Mars as well.
It would fuck up a lot of the solar system, probably. How gravitationally influential is Earth on Mars?
Well, the whole solar system is.
Obviously, it's going to be impacts, but anyway, forget that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly.
But we're going to reduce existential risk by going and setting up a multiplanetary species in ways that we probably can't by staying on Earth and bunkering down.
Yeah.
I think probably true.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I agree with that.
So one other point that could be leveled as an argument against going to Mars is that it's a point that doesn't have any, I suppose, absolutely direct evidence for yet. We need to do more research into working out if it's actually going to be a problem. But that when humans leave the Earth and spend long periods of time in isolation in places like Mars where they can't breathe the air or whatever, that it's psychologically damaging. That humans don't deal well with that, and they eventually, I don't know, go mental and kill each other or something.
So it's sort of like a health reason. Either like a mental health reason or sure. Say we can't survive in Martian gravity or something forever. It
has some very negative long-term health implications. Or we can't. It's very hard to mitigate some radiation thing on Mars or whatever. There's health reasons not to do it.
That actually makes it sort of impossible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a great argument in the sense that I'm not sure how many people are actually arguing that. I think a lot of people are saying, well, we've got to be careful. We need to,
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody saying we don't need to do any more research. Obviously, everyone thinks we need to do more research into this.
Yes.
And they are.
And we need to go there to find out, right?
Yeah, basically. That's gonna be the ultimate way we know, is if you just go there. One thing that could be interesting is if people are born there.
Yeah.
And they might be, having never lived, I'm thinking purely on gravity now, having never lived in like a terrestrial gravity.
Sure.
They might be fine on Mars, but then could never come
return
back to Earth. But anyway, that doesn't stop people going.
I don't know. I mean, they're not be happy. They're not going to be happy people. It's just how much of that is reversible. So if you're born, we know if you go into 0G in space, you get a bit taller and your muscles waste away, and when you come back to Earth, you have to be wheeled around in a trolley. But in a wheelchair, not a trolley. And so we know that's reversible because the astronauts are fine like a month later or whatever, or 2 months, or however long it takes to recover fully, and they lose bone density and things. If there is a point where that becomes irreversible, so if you're born on Mars with all the genetic makeup a human has, there hasn't been a long period of time to cause some sort of genetic separation or whatever, or if there ever could be. But just, we take a pregnant woman now, we dump her on Mars in some sort of habitat, she has the baby, and then 50 years later we bring the baby back to Earth.
Yeah.
Is it just going to die, or is it going to be able to? Is it
spend a few months like and then get used to it,
or even a year maybe to rehabilitate totally.
Maybe
to acclimatise.
And maybe you could, on the journey over, if you have artificial gravity on your spacecraft, by spinning sections, you could gradually increase the speed of them as you get closer to Earth. So it's like a sort of, I don't know, an acclimatization phase.
Yeah.
Oh man, I bet it feels horrible. You spent your entire life in Martian gravity. You're just like, ugh. You remember parabolic flight?
Yeah.
That feeling of that 2G feeling.
Oh yes, yeah.
And how intense that was.
Yeah, but that got easier, didn't it?
It'd be more intense than that, wouldn't it? Martian gravity is a third of the Earth's.
So it would be a bigger increase.
Is it a third? Or am I thinking of the moon? I really should look stuff up before I film these episodes. I think it's a third. I think it's a third. I remember being pretty amazed when I've seen videos of people doing parabolic flights in Martian gravity, and
they're bouncing around. I mean, it's not
really bounce around. I mean, more so than you ever think.
38% the surface.
Okay, so a bit more than a third. So that's more than. So going to the Earth, you'd be in more than twice your normal gravity. So it would be more intense. It would feel more intense than that parabolic flight experience.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
So that
provided
that
it scales that way.
But that's not a reason to not colonize Mars. I mean, maybe people who were born there
just a reason not to come back.
There. Yeah. But say there are health reasons why even just going there and living there for a long time is just almost impossible. I think that could be a reason why we don't go soon, or why we don't colonize it soon. Right. But I do feel like we will eventually kind of engineer out those problems. Medicine will get better. We'll understand why the causes of those problems.
Yes.
Even if it's down to the point of engineering, changing people's genomes to deal with it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, this is distant, crazy.
Sure.
But,
we're talking about colonizing Mars.
yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So I think, given the good arguments for going, so obviously the existential risk one, and then all the various financial reasons and
etc.
I think the drivers. I think we will. There'll be a treatment, the Mars shot that you get. That sorts you out before you go, and then. Yeah, I mean it might be more difficult to deal with psychological problems, but we'll have ways of sorting that out.
Virtual reality, that sort of thing, would be very helpful.
Yeah, and as more and more people go and the colony grows, presumably it would get.
You'd be able to create indoor biomes that are very Earth-like.
Like a park and a river, and I think it would get more and more comfortable over time.
Yeah. At first it would suck.
Yeah. At first it would be real hard.
It'd be rubbish. It'd be just
those first colonists are going to be pretty hard. Have to be pretty hardcore.
Yeah, they'll be the best of the best, basically.
Yeah,
you would think. Most astronauts are pretty, out there.
Yeah,
pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll be tough people.
So what do you think? Do you think that's a thing that would stop us from ever colonizing, or do you think?
Well, I don't think it will stop us going and trying it.
No.
I mean, maybe that there is a blockage, a kind of a real psychological inevitability that you become unhappy and depressed, and you can't mitigate it properly. Spending your life or spending very long periods of time not on the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is an inevitability of humans going beyond the Earth and living amongst the stars type thing. It's just not. When we actually try it, it sucks, and we don't want to do it.
You just sort of have this.
I think you can
deep psychological connection to the Earth.
Yeah. In a just an adaptive sense, in that if you take some wild animal out of its environment, it's hating it. You stick a dolphin in a tank, it's not going to be happy.
Yeah, true. Or bring a chimp up as a human child, it hates it. They actually get clinical depression and stuff.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of whales and stuff in sea parks.
Yeah, they're not happy.
They don't live anywhere near as long as they would outside captivity. Anyway.
But I wonder if that's because they're in captivity rather than the fact that they're just not in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're comparable. I'm just saying maybe it is.
Yeah.
So maybe there is that. I imagine we'll probably be able to engineer out those problems, and I don't think ultimately it will stop us. Mm-hmm. I think you'll be able to, with when we're talking about colonizing Mars and stuff, you can imagine into the future virtual worlds, simulating things, understanding exactly what it is that causes some of these underlying psychological issues, and then and really addressing them. With hard engineering, I think you can solve it. I think they're solvable problems.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have a city that's got parkland and places and rolling hills, and it's just in this fucking massive dome, and the only difference is when you look up at the sky, you can maybe just about see some dome-like structure miles away, and it's a blue sky.
Yeah,
like no one's gonna care.
Yeah, and then you look outside the dome and you have these like Olympus Mons on the horizon or whatever.
Yeah,
just like
well,
amazing
I'm
Martian
even thinking
landscape.
where the dome's so big.
You can't see that.
You can't see Olympus. I mean, I'm talking mad city.
Yeah,
future,
sure. Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
So I mean, there's lots of humans that spend almost all their lives in the city.
Yeah, I think once you get to that level, I don't think those psychological problems, if they do exist, will be
insurmountable.
I think they'll basically disappear for people that are living in that phase of Martian colonization.
Yeah,
it's just the early colonists that are going to have to deal with it.
Yeah,
people get used to all kinds of stuff, though.
Humans are very, very adaptable.
Yeah.
Most animals are, but
I mean, we come from essentially like a tropical kind of subtropical climate is where we evolved in like kind of grasslands and stuff, and now humans live in like Greenland and northern Canada and and that they're perfectly happy doing it. Yeah, exactly.
And spend all their lives in offices typing on computers.
Yeah. It hasn't. I mean,
we've chosen to go down the route of being in a less natural environment. I mean, we like to go back to it occasionally, but it's not like
we're just constantly depressed and everything in our lives is just forcing us to go back to that grassland. I don't feel like a yearning.
No, most
people.
Yes, and if it is
hunt an antelope.
Some people get that. They want to move back to the countryside, but they move back in kind of, in not in any way, shape, or form like they were living back when they were wild kind of humans, non-civilized.
No, they just live in
a little house and pop down to the local shop and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not. Yes, I think it's
probably.
I think
we're adaptable
it's solvable.
Yeah, it's solvable. Yeah, I agree. So we've been discussing why we should colonize Mars and also reasons why we shouldn't. And I think, on balance, our opinions at least are that the reasons we should outweigh the reasons we shouldn't.
Yes, I like to think we've tried to be objective about it, but I think most people will have probably guessed that outcome.
Yeah, most people probably assume that that's going to be our opinion just going into this anyway.
Sure.
But
sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've just been through all those reasons. So given that our opinions are that we probably should, it's a good idea for us to go and colonize Mars. So will we actually do it? So it's a different question.
Yeah, there's a different question.
So basically, for it to actually happen and just be more than just like a scientific outpost.
So that's what we got explicitly. We're talking about a colonization effort, so a colony, something that successfully is a long term.
Yeah, I guess something that grows
into something.
Like a colony. A colony by definition needs to kind of grow and bring in people and become bigger and more like, I don't know. Yeah, just spread larger. And stuff. Yeah, more larger. Yeah. So in order for that to happen, it needs to get to a point where normal people, so people just your average person, is willing to move their life over there. There has to be something that like a draw for people to do that. Is that a realistic future? Do we think?
Well, there's good, I guess, for and against arguments for it not happening and possibly happening again.
An analogy that some people use, it gets quite often used, is the Americas.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the discovery of the new world.
When we land on Mars and set up some sort of tiny habitat, that everyone's going to slowly people will begin flooding over there. Yeah. I mean, the colonies in America were pretty shitty for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
And people were starving to death, and all sorts of terrible things happened. Yeah. And it took a while for the kind of Europeans to establish themselves and to become the US. So. Yeah, that's one analogy that people use, that we'll set up these kind of like base type things, out from the first missions, build them up slowly over time. There'll be one or two disasters probably. That's almost inevitable, I'd imagine. And then eventually it will get to a point where it's sort of, there's enough infrastructure for people to want to move their businesses, want to move there, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But that is one analogy that people give, the Americas. But there's another side that if you look at regions on the Earth, say like the polar regions, which are a lot nicer.
Yeah. Well, they make
Mars.
Yeah, compared to Mars, they're like a paradise.
Yeah.
Like
no one.
You can breathe the atmosphere for a start,
and no one lives there really.
People certainly aren't flocking there. It's not like a land of opportunity, is it?
No, exactly. There's space, but no one bothers.
There's space and there's resources. People and resources that do get exploited to a certain extent. There's mining stations and stuff up in the high Arctic.
Yeah, and there's native peoples that live up there, but they tend to be small groups of native people, and then some kind of, often transient mining towns that are established to exploit a resource. Yeah. And then F off.
Yeah, and like scientific
and science
research bases.
Exactly.
So actually, it's been put forward that is a much more realistic scenario for a Mars colonization effort. It never will really get to a colony. It's always just going to be these sort of Arctic style science bases, mining stations, whatever, that are manned by people who spend a bit of time there, don't really live there, don't move their lives out there, but then they just come home again after they've done their like shift or whatever.
Yes.
Which is sort of what happens in the Arctic.
Yes, that's exactly what in most of the Antarctica as well, especially. I think that neither analogy is particularly good for Mars, really.
Yeah, there's problems with both for sure.
I guess kind of when you're looking at analog environments, there's never a perfect analog.
Yeah.
But if you think about the Antarctic example, the difference might be there in comparison to Mars is that there's kind of a much harder separation, right, between going to Antarctica. Say we take Antarctica and going to Mars. From Mars to have good numbers of people there, okay, which are companies like SpaceX, as long as there's effort to put large numbers of people there, there's going to have to be, unlike Antarctica, an effort to begin to produce things in situ, to make it self-sufficient. In Antarctica, they don't have that pressure because the path of least resistance essentially is to ship stuff in. Yeah,
in fact, it makes more sense to ship stuff in than it does to like have a greenhouse and grow your own food and make everything self-sufficient in Antarctica, a research base. Whereas on Mars, you by necessity you're going to have to do those things. You can't just be relying on shipments from Earth all the time. No. Maybe for the first few years or whatever that will be happening, but
as the numbers, presumably some people may argue that the numbers would never grow, but there are express efforts to make those numbers grow. Yeah, and
just the simple fact that they'll have to be there for. Between orbital sort of transits and stuff,
so a couple of years.
And to live out a couple of years on Mars is going to be so much easier if you can produce stuff when you're there. And to produce stuff when you're there, you need more people. You need more levels of skills, right?
Yes.
You need just more infrastructure, and infrastructure brings opportunities for people to go.
Yeah, and at the first, it drives a requirement for just having a larger number of people with a variety of skills. Yeah. But then eventually, once that grows, it begins to bring people in, not just as a kind of requirement, but as an opportunity that people might want to take and go on an adventure and stuff. And then that begins to scale up slowly, possibly. I kind of feel like that's a better. I feel like it would necessitate the establishment of self-sufficient colonies or bases, which would grow into larger things. And the other thing is, as you're taking people there, if you're taking lots of people there, I don't know what the rules are going to be, and I know I'm not even sure in space kind of what goes down. But what happens if people have? So I'm thinking about people having children.
Oh yeah. Well, you can't stop people like having sex. Can you? That's
you
obviously going to happen.
Well, can you?
Maybe the first missions, they'll just be like really skilled astronauts that are just going there to do their mission.
Oh,
they won't be. That won't be such a concern then. But once you have hundreds of people there,
yes,
then and because the planets are so far apart and it takes like 6 months or whatever to get between them, people are going to end up staying there for much longer than they would stay, say, in an Arctic or an Antarctic research base. Which, by the way, probably a There's a lot of stuff going down on those bases.
Yeah, true. But if they get pregnant, they can go back.
Yeah, they can go
Can't
back.
do that on Mars.
Yeah, you can't do that on Mars. So yeah, I mean, unless you sterilize everybody, but surely that's not. I mean, that's not a colony for a start.
No. No, and that's. I mean, I wonder. I'm going to be so. It's going to be so interesting to see what SpaceX does.
Yeah.
Whether they are going to say, actually, we want the first 100 people to go. The guys have to have vasectomies or whatever, and that's just how they run it.
Yeah.
Maybe they will.
Man.
But
All
that's
the
not a
levels...
colony. That's the Mars Colonial Transporter transporting a bunch of sterile people.
That's not a colony.
At that point, not a colony. But the idea maybe is that that's the safest way to test it.
Yeah, or that you use that to start building the ground layers of what will eventually become a colony. Yeah, I don't know, but certainly once you start having kids there, I mean, you've got a generation of people who are natively Martian, and like anywhere on the Earth, even the most extreme places like in the Arctic and stuff, when you have like a small, say, Greenland town in Greenland, where it kind of, I mean, to be fair, like they're pretty horrible places to live a lot of the time. I mean, in the winter they get down to like -30, -40. You can't grow anything.
Frozen whale or something.
Yeah. Basically, you just got to rely on like the odd whale that might come by.
There's no KFCs out there.
No. It's pretty harsh existence. But people stay there because, well, one of the reasons they stay there is because that's where they live. Like they were born there. Their parents were born there. Their parents were born there. It's home.
Yeah.
So once you start putting those kind of roots down on Mars, you've got like a generation of people who are native Martians.
Yes.
Imagine that, native Martians. Just like there's a group of people who they all have been brought up hearing stories about Earth, reading about Earth, watching video. Obviously, you don't have the internet and stuff probably on Mars, but Earth would just always be this kind of like abstract kind of distant thing.
Okay. You're born on Mars and you're in these kind of domes and things or whatever the habitats end up being. But your first trip to Earth would be so much more extreme than someone from Earth's first trip to Mars, I would imagine. On Mars, it was kind of like you're in the first people on Mars, or someone's first journey to Mars would kind of be going to a desert on Earth that's just red, and you've kind of seen an environment visually like that, although you can't breathe the air and you have to be in a spacesuit and stuff, which is obviously a big change. But going to Earth where the sky's like a different colour
and the horizons are really far away, and
everywhere, and
the fucking gravity, and it's just so noisy, and there's so many people. It's like it must be so intense.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
But so I guess if you assume that,
Christ.
if there aren't severe medical problems with people being born on Mars, or we find out after the first colonization efforts that actually this is a terrible idea and we should be trying something else for another colonization, or something, I don't know. I imagine those will be surmountable goals. Or problems, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Then I think you run up to that point eventually where you just begin to grow. If you assume that these companies like SpaceX are going to do what they say, and I have no reason necessarily, apart from the fact that it sounds fucking mental.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't get over the fact that there is a company that exists that its expressed goal is to set up a colony on Mars. I can't believe that we live at a time where that is happening.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. But anyway, so
if you assume that they achieve their goal,
or at least are trying to achieve it actively.
Yes, and there are. Then I guess you eventually create a self-sustaining thing that continues by necessity to grow.
Yeah. So
to increase the comfort of the people living there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, once you have children, you're going to need more complicated medical facilities up there. You're going to need schools. All that kind of stuff.
You're gonna have all the machinery to produce. It just
snowballs, doesn't it? Everything. It just breeds. Like each new person you take up there has more requirements, and those requirements are going to need specialized people, and those people are going to have their requirements, and eventually, eventually somebody who runs a pizza restaurant is going to be like, they need a pizza restaurant up there.
Yeah,
let's go and set up a pizza joint on Mars.
If that's
going to be a really attractive, if it's cheap enough at that point to get over there and set up a business over there, people are going to want to do it.
You get a monopoly on it almost.
Yeah.
I mean, big companies would look at that potentially very seriously as this colony is being established, it's growing in size every 2 years, it's there's more stuff to deliver, they're starting to produce stuff on their own there. We should think about starting a small, because if it costs, what was it, $500,000, then if that, I mean,
we're just going on
numbers
who
that have
knows
been
if that's ever
chucked
gonna
out.
be.
Yeah, that's not a huge expense to send a few people over for a very large company.
No, not at all.
With some basic equipment and whatnot. I mean,
setting up a franchise on Mars.
Yeah, and just to get in there early.
Yeah, could be worth a lot. But yeah, that could be a pretty smart move.
They have their own currency.
The Martian. What would it be called?
The Marsh coin or something. I don't know.
I have to think of a better name than that.
Yes, terrible name. Yes. Yeah, maybe.
The Olympus. Nah.
That's a bit. Yeah.
I don't know. No,
There's
anyway.
Mars has got some fucking cool names.
It does.
Features on the surface. You've got to find a good one there.
Yeah.
Something to use for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think yes. I think you're right. I think that it will probably naturally snowball unless it fails. But that's not really. That might not stop it entirely. That might just set us back a bit.
Yeah.
By fail, I mean there's some kind of accident, catastrophic accident.
Yes, and the habitat is pit. Yes.
Or has to abort or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a problem early on, and it'll probably maybe we should even anticipate stuff like that happening early on.
Yeah, I mean it is in a way human nature to go out and explore stuff, and we talked about this. It's part of evolution.
Yeah.
It's part of our survival instinct.
Yeah.
And some people dying there, like they did in the American colonies, or have done crossing Antarctica or whatever, is not probably going to stop us in the long term from going back. It will probably cause a bit of a, like you say, a setback, and it will take a while for everyone to get confident to do it again.
Yeah, sure. And that's actually another good point I just thought of while you were saying that, is that the other difference between this, so the Mars colony and the Arctic example, which actually makes it closer to possibly the Americas, is that people who go there are going to be part of setting up the first ever human colony off of the Earth on a new planet.
Yeah.
Like human civilization is moving to a new planet.
Yes.
And there's a certain type of person, a certain cross section of society that is going to be a major draw, I think.
Sure.
So that
getting there.
That might sound a bit like sort of nebulous that as a driver, but I think it actually will have like power.
Yeah.
I think people will want to just be a part of that.
Sure.
If it's not like really hard, when it gets past the point of just living in tiny tin cans and it's all really like hardcore, when it gets to the point of like actually there's some relative comfort here.
Yes.
People will think, okay, it's worth the risk. It's worth the leaving everything behind because I'll be part of this forever for the rest of human history.
Yep, written into history.
I'll be one of those like pioneers. So
yes.
I reckon that's
and even if you're not going to be Neil Armstrong or whatever, landing there first, you're still part of something new. It's just an exciting adventure. It's just an adventure for people.
Yeah.
Which the Arctic, I suppose, is. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, it's not the same level of adventure though. It's not doing something that's totally.
Yeah, but for the reasons we've already said about it, it makes more sense in the Arctic to go for short stints, ship everything in.
Oh yeah.
You don't need to build up the infrastructure, so you
don't
need the people. And also, one other thing was that there'll be a minimum technological requirement for living on Mars that doesn't exist in the Arctic, that actually might make it more comfortable relatively, because you're going to be much more insulated from the it's pretty cold on Mars and there's a lot of radiation, but you're not exactly going to be like bearing the brunt of that yourself.
No, you're
going to be living in a climatized, perfectly climate controlled habitat.
Sure.
So the relative comfort, it's not like moving up to the Arctic where you've got like
some of the bases are pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are amazing.
Yes,
some of them
true,
Antarctic bases. But yes, I think there'll be the difference in, like you say, the technological barrier and the fact that it has to be self-sufficient. I just think those things are going to make a big difference to the way it unfolds.
Yeah.
And I think, therefore, I would probably say that it will eventually happen.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it will.
I don't know when, but it presumably will eventually.
Yeah,
happen.
I mean, it's hard to know. There might be setbacks that we haven't foreseen, but I think that eventually those setbacks will be overcome and that it will happen. There will be a natural drive to go and do it.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah. Okay, so let's just round off by answering a crazy question. We might have done this before on a previous episode,
Right.
or something similar. But so let's say that this is happening, and that we're in the process now of hundreds, thousands of people going to Mars on like SpaceX style colonization effort. There's a city that's being built, right? So there's a reasonable level of like comfort there, and you can afford to go. Would you go? Would you like emigrate?
Can I come back?
Would you emigrate to Mars? Can you come back? Well, I mean, I guess if we're at the phase of a city, then I guess yes.
Then yeah.
In which case, yeah. Like, it just turns into like, oh, that's just a holiday then, isn't it, really? Just a long holiday.
Do you want to go to an exotic place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an easy question.
I
What
mean,
about if you
it's an
can't
easy
come
question.
back?
I mean, when we have a city there, the engineering presumably is going to be at a level where it's quite safe to go as well, or at least it's reasonably safe.
Yeah, and comfortable.
To travel.
And,
But it'll still be scary. I still think it'll be scary, even though lots of people have done it before. Going up in a fucking rocket and blasting your way to Mars and spending 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, however long it ends up being at that point in technological development. I still think it'll be kind of a bit freaky, and knowing you have to spend 6 months in like what would be a relatively small space with people you don't really know.
Yeah.
Yes,
Intense.
it would be very carefully designed, but it would be an intense thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. The whole process of it.
But I think I'd go.
Can you imagine like the launch site or whatever on Earth that's going to have so much infrastructure built up for just the Mars like transits and stuff?
Yes.
Bringing loads of people and equipment to Mars. What a spaceport would look like that's designed for that. And you do kind of arrive there like a few days before your launch or something, your scheduled launch, and you're just kind of like getting nervous, and you see the rockets, and it's like, oh my god. This is happening.
Yeah, I'd have to do it. Yes, definitely. All that shit would be there, and I'd just be loving it.
Yeah.
So you say you spend 2 years there, come back. Yeah, of course I'll do that. Or at least that's
more.
my general. I plan to spend 2 years there, but I might just not get this ride back and wait another 2 or whatever.
Yeah. But like an idea of like emigrating there. Say it was much more difficult to come back. Either it costs like an equivalent amount of money you could come back. So like you basically have
I think I would only go if I could budget for the return.
Yeah.
Or where would you go without a budget for the return?
I don't know. I think it depends on. I mean, I think there's a large part of me that would just be like, yeah, it just wants to say yes because it seems like such a cool thing to do, such like just a crazy kind of adventure.
Yeah.
But obviously, in reality, you might get 3 years into it and think this was a huge mistake.
Yes.
I've all my life back on Earth. I'm never going to go back to that.
Yeah.
What have I done? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if it's not like, if you don't like it there, or it's not particularly built up yet, and it's a good decade or 2 away from being this really kind of big, fleshed out, self-sustaining city type thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might get there and just be like 2 years, 3 years in, the whole pioneering thing, the excitement of that. More people have come. It's just kind of. You don't care about that anymore.
No.
That you've done that, you've had that exciting thing, and now you'll realise you're stuck in a place that you can't go outside in. You're stuck in a sort of laboratory, basically.
Yeah.
You're stuck in kind of a prison, a kind of like nice prison. You're not allowed outside, and you might just think, what the hell was I doing? Like, I'm stuck in this freezing cold, UV bathed, uninhabitable place that. Actually, when I can go outside and look around a bit, but most of the places that I can travel to in the rover that we've got, it's fairly nice. It looks like a kind of rolly desert thing, but doesn't really change that much where we are.
Yeah, although I mean, there'd be some pretty stunning things to go see, like Valles Marineris.
Yeah, but say you can't travel all the way out there, like the transport system. If there's not that transport, I'm saying you may just think, what the hell was I thinking 3 years into it? Even if you were so excited to go out there.
Yeah, but I just don't know if the possibility of that would be enough for me to turn it down.
Off. Yeah.
I don't know. I think
the other thing is,
I'm kind of bad with making decisions like that. I just go for it. I think. I don't know. I mean, if someone just handed me the opportunity, I'd have to really think long and hard about it. It wouldn't.
It depends how much is unknown, doesn't it?
Yeah, depends how early in the process it was.
If you're what about one of the first 100 people? And there's no guarantee you're going to come back, and it's all untested. That's sketchy, man.
It's really sketchy. I mean, there's something cool about being one of the first few people on Mars. Not necessarily like the glory of it. I don't care about like being remembered or whatever. But just for my own, just for the experience.
Yeah, it's a real adventure.
Just a landing on the planet and be like, there's no one's ever been here before.
Yeah.
Just a planet, just Mars.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, there's definitely appeal in that.
Yeah. But
it'll be pretty uncomfortable though for the rest of the time.
Be pretty uncomfortable, and it's potentially decades before it gets comfortable.
Yes.
Before it's more than just like these 10 people.
We've got to keep the
people.
generator going, otherwise we're all going to die.
Yeah. It would be hardcore. I mean, for a start, like I'm not qualified to do that, so I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be one of the first.
Yeah, but we're talking about a colony on Mars, like it's mental. So just whatever. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go for the first 100.
No.
If it started happening like that, I would just bet on the basis that it's going to continue. And if it doesn't continue, it's probably because it went tits up. And if it went tits up, I'm probably glad I didn't go.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Just wait until it gets comfortable, and then we can just go and just have fun. Just go and explore Mars as much as you want. Go and see the cool shit. If you want to stay there forever, you can. If you get bored of it, just come home.
Do you think that kind of does remove the adventure of it? Does it remove it? I think
does.
For me, it would be just exciting enough to be in space and to be going to another planet. Because I would still have memories. I would still remember when it was kind of this weird, distant, exotic world that's kind of got all these bizarre, features on it, such as life. Oh, this kind of weird stuff. Mars is kind of almost a mystical place.
I mean, it would still be that, but it would also have this added element of there's like this other sort of bubble of humanity out there that we're going to go and see. Like its own kind of civilization is beginning.
Yeah. I just wondered. I meant. Would it be mundane? It would be at some point, way in the future, potentially. But maybe when you've done it a few times, like, geez, I can't be asked to another 6 months.
Yeah.
But
that first trip, I mean, imagine it, like being inserted into the orbit around Mars, and you're just like looking out the window, and there's Mars like hanging in the sky like below you, and you can see like maybe some lights. Like of a city, and it's like this. One of the bits of that journey that would most excite me though, would be the bit when you're dead in between Mars and Earth. Oh man!
And there's nothing.
Yeah, like both are just sort of like points
pinpricks.
Of light.
They're just not almost like another star.
You're just in the middle.
Just
hanging, like the open ocean of space,
hanging in the middle of the void. Just
that's fucking.
There's no up, down, nothing. It means nothing. There's no reference points. You're just in this kind of. Just in a bubble of it's just so weird. I'd love to go outside the spaceship and just kind of
just turn away from the spaceship so you can't see it.
And you're there's just the universe in front of you, in every direction.
That's almost enough for you to just lose your mind. Just like
just put your helmet off. I'm done.
Yeah. Oh man, that makes me feel kind of weird thinking about that in a good way.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that this happens.
I'd love to do it. Yeah, it'd be so cool. So I think my opinion is I will wait and see if I can get on one of the ones a bit later when I can actually afford it.
Yeah. I'd be sacrificing a little bit of that sense of adventure from being one of the first people, but I think it's worth it because it would still be amazing and it would be probably safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. And cheaper, probably. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
So, I think, does that bring us to the end of our Mars colonization chat?
Yeah, I think we've determined that we should go to Mars, we probably will go to Mars, and that we would probably want to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Given certain circumstances.
The triple positive.
Which good. I probably think was not an entirely surprising outcome.
No.
I would imagine some people I know some people who would definitely be against a lot of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that's good reasons to be, and we should have gone through. So,
yep.
Fair enough.
Sure. Okay, let's do Nutters of the Week.
Nutters of the Week. What is our Nutter of the Week this week?
It was a story that I imagine a lot of people have seen in the news. I thought it was pretty amusing. You will have seen it as well. That thing when there was a video released at CERN.
Oh yeah,
and there was like a ceremony of kind of what looked like a cult ceremony where they're doing some sort of weird human sacrifice in front of the goddess Shiva, which is the destroyer god or whatever in Hinduism.
Why is that? There's a massive statue of that at CERN.
Apparently, it's because there's always been a big connection between India And CERN's always had a big connection with India, and that was given to them as a gift by some Indian things. Since like the 1960s, they've been collaborating with Indian scientists and things, and getting funding from there. So it was some sort of gift of that. It is a bit odd when you look at it, because there's lots of conspiracy theories. We've been through a few of them before in previous
hilarious
shows.
conspiracy theories about CERN. Mainly about the LHC.
Yes, producing
itself, being like a gate to like for some aliens to come through and control us, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, some absolute bollocks. But and so this, in a way, is kind of those stories. That, some people there decided to make all these conspiracy theories just kind of, let's just freak them out.
Yeah,
it's kind of reflecting that back at them, which I thought was pretty funny. But so I was reading a few articles, and they were sort of saying it was as if they kind of hadn't thought that people at CERN could be kind of childish or mess around or whatever. And like I know some people who've worked there for periods of time. I haven't been there, and they're just people. There's a bunch of people who are pretty. They're smart. They know particle physics, but mixed in with them, there's just a bunch. Like, some of them are just PhD students or postdocs who just let's just do a prank. Let's just whatever. It's not mysterious. They're just having a laugh.
Yeah.
The fact that guy was filming it as well, sort of conveniently. I mean, it was obvious they weren't.
It was obviously a prank.
It was obviously a prank.
But it's pretty funny. Like the way, if you haven't seen the video, just dig it out.
Yeah. Human sacrifice at CERN, you'll probably find it.
It's like all these robed people, like sort of ominously walk into shot and then do some ceremony, and there's some girl and they pretend to kill her and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the concept of like a cult. Like going on some pilgrimage to that large hadron collider to go and sacrifice to the alien like deities or something. It's amazing.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories about the Illuminati and things are involved in CERN.
Yeah.
CERN's kind of a secretive.
I wonder how many people think that it's real for a start. Probably a lot of the crazies.
I don't know. I wonder if many people think it's real. I would be surprised if they do. I think a lot of them probably think that it's. They're kind of like a double bluff almost. That there's. I think a lot of people think it's weird that there's that Shiva statue there, and that's kind of people. I did read a comment below some. I think it was below one of these stories that said something like, "Say what you want about CERN, or say what you want about this project, but spiritualism is a much greater part of this project than you all think, than the materialists think." I think is what they put.
Yeah.
Right, as if that's like a useful thing to like.
The spiritual aspect of like colliding protons together.
As if the thing the Shiva god there implies that everyone's kind of sitting around, sort of meditating, thinking, how can we get these particles? What can we learn? By they don't do any of that shit there. It's not related. It's not, people might have personal beliefs or whatever, but it's got nothing to do with the work at all.
No, it doesn't feed into the work. It doesn't inform the work.
No
overlap at all.
No.
But I bet there's
if you could solve those types of problems by sitting down and fucking meditating
and like asking Shiva, the destroyer, what happens when some boson decays or something like. Yeah. That's brilliant. I bet there's some like crazy link between the aliens that come through this gate of the LHC and the Hindu gods. I bet there's like they visited back in those days, and that's what people now worship.
Yes.
I bet there's some like connection there, and the Shiva, the destroyer, is is like the actual is one of the aliens that
as
comes
opposed
through the
to it being a kind of they're destroying atoms, they're blowing up and trying to find a little bit. It's actually about them trying to destroy the world or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah,
what a load of arse. Anyway, and that's the usual
stuff.
Nutters of the Week shit. Well, I guess that's the end of the show.
Yep, that's the end of the show, and as we said earlier,
the end of this room.
The end of the series.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
The end of the season.
Season 1 is done.
Yes.
Actually, series means a different thing in the US and in the UK.
Oh shit, does it?
Yeah, a British show. This is a bit of an aside.
Sure.
A British show is like series 1, series 2, series 3.
Okay, but there's season 1, season 2.
In America, it's season 1, season 2, season 3.
Right.
And a series is like the whole thing. Which
okay.
actually makes kind of more sense, but to me. But anyway.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I agree.
End of season 1.
Yes. This is
been a good run
in this exact format. Well, it will still return. I think this format, won't it?
Yeah,
Well,
for
'cause
sure.
Yeah.
So this format will probably just happen slightly less frequently in a different setting.
Yes.
This literal format.
Yes.
But then we'll have
The same content and type of stuff we talk about and whatnot. I mean, to be honest, it won't be that different, really.
no. I mean, if mostly what you do is just listen to it, you probably won't notice any difference.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're watching us,
You realise that there are two
Obvious.
windows
yeah,
instead of one, or I don't know quite how it's going to work. We've got to figure it out.
yeah.
Anyway, that's the end for the show today, and the end of the season.
yeah. Season finale.
And I guess we'll we've got something else coming up that will be on the channel. I'm not going to say when because we don't know.
But it should be fun.
It will be good. Stay subscribed.
Yep.
It will still be an active channel, and we will see you guys probably in a few months.
Yes. Yep. Sounds good.
Keep the comments coming and all that.
Keep the comments coming, and yeah, we'll be monitoring the channel. So as we said
Yeah.
earlier, so yeah, keep them coming.
Uh-huh.
We love to see those comments.
Indeed.
And yeah, I think that's it. So
See you later, off-worlders.
see you later.